it's for the first time in human history that we are even coming to this awakening, because this was never present for any of our ancestors. Just 200 years ago, we used to die by the time, most of us used to die by the time we were in menopause or andropause. But now, because modern medicine, thankfully, has increased our lifespan by at least doubled or sometimes tripled our lifespan. So now we have these problems of being alive in this period of a pause, and we're just extending your life without really extending the health span into the lifespan. So the purpose of preventing or actually lifting your body out of the pause into the flow of life, into the flow of health and wellness, is basically so that your lifespan and your health span can align.
That was Dr. Din, and you've landed on the Me and My Health Up podcast. I'm your host, your Wellcierge, and today's episode is on longevity with Dr. Din, and we're particularly covering the subject of the pause. So yes, andropause and as well as menopause. So we're talking about the pause that happens in our life, and we talk about what are the foundations to successfully navigating the pause? What are the foundations of good health to successfully navigate that pause? And I really look forward to enlightening this conversation with Dr. Din, because she is a geriatric specialist. So she spent years of her medical career helping the elderly, and she noticed patterns, and she wanted to help the elderly more by focusing more on preventative health. So now she's a specialist in anti-aging and longevity. And without much further ado, I'd love to welcome you into the conversation I'm having with Dr. Din. Welcome on the Me and My Health Up podcast. How are you, Dr. Din?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And where are you joining us from?
I am in New York, Westchester, New York, and it is cold and snowing.
Wow. Yeah. So we've got the opposite here in the Southern Hemisphere in Sydney, Australia. So it's
Wow.
hot.
Love it.
It's
Amazing.
hot. It's beach weather.
Wow. It has its ups and downs.
Yeah, absolutely. Love you to share your backstory as to how you've arrived at what you're doing today.
So today, well, what I do currently is anti-aging and longevity, and I also love to work with helping people preserve their connection with their beauty and health. But I was not always here. I retired as a geriatric specialist in almost 15 years ago. And I was a geriatrician. So I used to take care of old people. I was the medical director of a nursing facility and assisted care and rehabilitation. And then I also used to follow the people who were in nursing facilities into the hospitals. And that's where I saw the light, and where I saw the light after experiencing the dark side of medicine and health and being human, where everybody, when they reach their sixth or seventh or eighth decade, they are afflicted with several diseases that we have no way to stop. And all we can do is to throw some pills at them. Half of them don't even work. Many of them have contraindications and do not align with the human body when they're given together. But that's really the best that we can do. And it was so depressing that I almost, like, if there was not this other path of finding health and wellness, I think I would have just left medicine altogether, because it was like I was facing my own burnout at that point, because it was just despair. Because you're just basically a sitting duck waiting to just die. And before dying, we throw you into the hellholes of the hospital. And it was very painful to watch people suffer and not be able to help them. And that's what turned me around. And initially I started with aesthetics, and I was like, okay, maybe I love beauty. I am a worshiper of beauty. And that's like, there are people who believe in other things, but I believe that beauty is a gift that is granted by your mother and it is a genetic code. And I wanted to be the preserver of beauty. And so then I went into beauty, I did several protocols and trainings to like help people maintain not just the outermost, the way they perceive it, their perceptions of self, how to align with that. But then I realized that beauty will last you only 5 seconds if you do not have health and wellness. Beauty is a very fickle mistress, because if you are not healthy and if you're not robust, it is a form of energy that just leaves you. And that is for this reason I tell people that, if you go to the hospital, there's nobody who's beautiful. If you think that somebody is looking beautiful in a hospital, you might be watching the TV. That is it. So I turned, like I had like this thing of like doing people, old people, and aging, and then turning around, learning a little bit of flavor of beauty and the different skills that are required to become a good aesthetic provider. And then I realized that the beauty is just the tip of the iceberg, and the iceberg is made up of health and wellness, protocols and your micro decisions that lead you to that point in time. So that was my full journey. And then as I went into health and wellness, I realized that everybody has to face a pause at some point. And these are pre-programmed pauses that are already in your genetic code. You are going to experience that sluggishness, whether it is metabolic sluggishness, it is brain problems, it is hormonal problems. All of these problems can start happening to people at certain pre-programmed timings. For women, it usually starts a little earlier because women are also child bearers, and they're the ones who do all the creation. They have like they're very symptomatic because they have symptoms of that pause. For instance, they can see that their periods are irregular, and then when they're having irregular bleeding, they know that something's going on. Women go through perimenopause for almost 10 years before they actually have that pause where they know that something happened. This symptom is 100% absent in men, which is an andropausal symptoms are, that's one of I always like to discuss with my male patients that modern medicine has gaslit men also, not just women. We've raised a lot of uproar about not being treated correctly for perimenopause and menopause, and men haven't even started realizing that they do go through some sluggishness, some pause, they feel it, but they don't know what's going on. And they go to their doctors and they get thrown different pills, this, that. But, but again, now though that awakening is occurring in the health and wellness field also, to recognize your pause and not let the pause you, and pause your different activities, and to recognize the constellation of symptoms that will face you and how to fix them. I know it's a little long, convoluted path, but that's how I became who I became. And, sometimes life is, and your career is like a becoming that you have to go through. The thing is that both men and women go through pre-programmed pauses in their life. For women, the symptoms of pause are very, very apparent to us because we menstruate every month. We're also in the motherhood part of our lives is happening in the 20s and 30s, and then it subsides. So we know that the periods are irregular. There are other symptoms that start happening like metabolic sluggishness. So women tend to gain weight and lose weight and then gain back again and stuff. And then the pause hits the women permanently once your periods completely stop for a year. That's when we label them as menopause. However, the medical society creates this impression of a pause as it's just the reproductive part of a woman's life that is over, and that part is over, but the rest of you is the same and everything is fine. Goodbye. Meanwhile, a pause is an all system pause. It is a brain pause. It is a muscle pause. It is a skeletal pause. It is your skin starts accelerating in its decline. And all of, and definitely your cholesterol, a lot of people start having cholesterol issues around that time because that starts declining, then not declining, increasing, like its metabolism is not good. And then there is an immune system pause where a lot of people who are in perimenopause or menopause are more likely to develop some sort of dysfunction with either autoimmune stuff happening to them or cancer. One of the things that happen during your pauses is like you likely to develop some sort of cancer in your body. So menopause is like, there's these constellation of symptoms. Your sleep gets ruined, with many women would tell you that. Men, on the other hand, were a little more disadvantaged, in my opinion, because they do not have any symptoms. The minimal symptom that a man may complain to his doctor, and they will go to like maybe a urologist and complain about either erectile dysfunction, or they will say, I'm peeing too much. I mean, is it some prostate issue or something that they'll start developing? Nobody tells them that your dyslipidemia, your cholesterol issues, your little bit of weight gain, a little pooch that you just can't get rid of, is also part of this andropausal symptom that that nobody has figured it out yet, and that you need to also get on some hormonal, and it's all related to your hormonal imbalance. So men also go through andropause, except that they don't understand it as much as now we're beginning to understand, because women have like such serious symptoms, and it's just that the women have a different problem right now, that they just recently in United States FDA finally removed the warning and black box labels off of hormonal replacement therapy, which is something that was so important for every woman to test and try for themselves. And because hormones is like another layer of treatments and wellness treatments that we'll have to start training our doctors correctly, first of all, and then, to start out with. But again, for men, andropausal men are basically just limited to their urologists. They're like, who else to go? There's no, I don't think that there is even any, like, primary cares don't do andropausal management. So you know how that is going to align. So there are doctors like me who are now, coming out, and we're like trying to educate as many people that, whatever you're feeling, it's like part of a symptom. And it's for the first time in human history that we are even coming to this awakening, because this was never present for any of our ancestors. Just 200 years ago, we used to die by the time, most of us used to die by the time we were in menopause or andropause. But now, because modern medicine, thankfully, has increased our lifespan by at least doubled or sometimes tripled our lifespan. So now we have these problems of being alive in this period of a pause, and we're just extending your life without really extending the health span into the lifespan. So the purpose of preventing or actually lifting your body out of the pause into the flow of life, into the flow of health and wellness, is basically so that your lifespan and your health span can align, so that, at this time we have not been able to overcome death. Death is still like, there's an exit, that where a time when you have to exit the matrix of life and whatever there is. But up until that time, don't lose all your senses, and to provide your body and your consciousness with a vessel that is still functional till the very end. And why not? And I think that is going to be the next miracle. The new miracle is to, when your consciousness is completely ripe at the age of 80, my dream is that an 80-year-old, if that person thinks of something and realizes that, oh my God, my life's purpose is this. I didn't get it at 79, but at 80 I got it, and that person should still have in them the energy, the facility to be able to act on their purposes. So it's very interesting, and this is an evolution. It's an evolving science.
So I was just wondering, how do you then support your clients through this pause? So obviously you have clients coming to you that are experiencing the symptoms of perimenopause, or they could be menopausal, or you have men that are experiencing symptoms of andropause. Where do you start with your clients, and what is the process to help them really navigate that pause and help them improve their health span?
So, one of the things that I like to first inform my clients and my patients is that to understand the insurance details of their life. So, many times people are under the impression that their insurance company takes care of their health. Meanwhile, your insurance usually is like your car. Your health insurance is like your car insurance. It only gets activated when you have an accident or some trouble or sickness has happened, then your car insurance activates. Similarly, your health insurance gets activated when you have a sickness. So menopause or andropause is not considered a sickness. It's like considered like a normal, natural progression of a person's life. A menopause has happened. Okay, that's it. And maybe you need some HRT. Now they're going to say that, okay, maybe we can give you some HRT for it, which is the hormone replacement therapy. A few years ago, even that was not covered. Even now, all the hormones are not covered that people need. So one of the things that for your andropause or your or anybody who has menopause, they'll need to do blood work and to see where different what shifts are taking place, where they are in that trajectory, and then they come to somebody like me for wellness. So health is an out of pocket expense. So once you understand that this is an out of pocket expense, I have to maintain my own self with this. They have to, because it is an out of pocket expense for these treatments that we do offer. For instance, one of the treatments that is very, very popular in our office is very regenerative. It's an intravenous infusion of minerals and supplements that we give to people. And it's supposed to be done like literally on a monthly basis. Now, people ask me all the time, like, what is this intravenous infusion? So intravenous infusion for a human body is like if you were a car, that is an oil change. So currently your oil change is covered only if you get seriously sick and you go get admitted in the hospital, or you present to the emergency department. They're going to put that oil change in for you and it will make you feel better. They have plenty of data that just like that plain bag of alkaline fluid, when they place it in your body, it changes the chemistry, internal chemistry, also hydrates the person, and the person starts feeling better. And many times, many of the medications that they know needs to be given to somebody very quickly, they put it with that oil change. So if it is an antibiotic or a steroid, they'll put it directly in your vein, bypassing your gut. And that's what an oil change is. So I tell people that we have so much data on this oil change in the sickness department of healthcare that we should proactively use this method to basically supplement our system so that whatever is decreasing can be realigned. So it's basically one of the things that happens in the pause, which perhaps I didn't mention, was that pause also affects your gut. So your gut biome is also pausing by the time you're in your 60s. I didn't ask you, how young are you?
I'm in my to turn 50, so
So, by the time you're over 50, your gut biome is just as jaded as you are. That's what I tell people. It's not going to open its door and let some strange looking elements inside your system, because your gut biome is your protector. It's going to protect you, from what you put in your mouth, because you probably don't know what you're putting in your mouth. So if it does not see the elements and it cannot recognize the identifiers on different elements, it doesn't open its door and let anything in. By the time you're going through menopause, your gut biome is semi-retired. It's working only 4 hours a day. So even if you eat 24 hours a day, your gut biome is only going to open its little window, and just take on some protein and take in some fluids and some minerals, and then let everything pass through you. So and that will show in your system, because if you're not nourished, and you don't get all if nutrients don't get to the end organ is not going to age faster. So that is one of the anti-aging, very easy way to supplement yourself, is through that. And I really like supplementing the body with alongside the oil change. And now we have so many peptides. A few years ago, a lot of people used to call all peptides fad. And now, a few years later, some of the peptides that half of the world is already on, like GLP-1 agonists, like Ozempic and Wegovy and Mounjaro and Zepbound, it's tirzepatide and semaglutide, which are basically sugar neutralizers. So these peptides are now being taken very seriously, and pretty much very soon in the next decade, I am very sure that like pretty much every country will have its own version of these peptides, and they would want all their humans to be taking it, because these are health promoters. So, between peptides and between, these signal transmitters of the infusions, this can help a human body lift itself out of the pause and go back into the flow of things. Now, how often you may need some of these treatments, it varies. And you do, just like you have a sickness management doctor, you will also probably need to keep a health management doctor. And your sickness management doctor, you go and see them when you get sick. But your health management doctor is a very important visit. And that is something that you have to constantly do, because aging is happening to you daily. So preventing that, your system from crumbling, is also something that I'm a believer that we need to protect it daily too.
And what are some of the foundations to really help someone themselves? So, like, yeah, they can get supplementation, they can get intravenous, but what are some of the other things that will complement that in their lifestyle that they should be doing to really help them optimize their, I guess, journey through the pause?
So, yeah, that's a really great question, because I always, sometimes, as doctors, we forget to tell people that, just like when you go to a dentist twice a year for deep cleaning and this and that, you still need to brush your teeth twice a day, or maybe more if you're like eating more stuff in the, maybe once in the afternoon also. So, and also make sure that you floss maybe once or twice a day. Similarly, for your health, there are so many things that you have to do on your own, do it yourself at home, which is you eat real food, you sleep with the best, at appropriate times, and get, catch up on it, move your body daily, do, whatever meditation, whatever helps you relax. Also, all those things are super important. Hydrate well. Also, they basically, stay away from toxic things and people, substances and people. I say that, because people also give you a vibe, so it's not just that substances are toxic. There are people who could be, their vibe is toxic to you, and you stay away from it, because you need to create your boundaries where you're safe. Those things are important, and you need to protect yourself on a day-to-day basis. However, then there are play times in your life, and especially like when you're young, you may not need a lot, but a lot of interference from a doctor, a medical person. But a point will come in your life where you need additional support. And I don't want people to just seek that support when their body is crumbling and their system is breaking down. You need to support yourself when you are still healthy. And because it's so much easier to preserve health than to construct it from, once you've disintegrated through time.
And what do you classify alcohol as a toxic substance? Because I know that's quite common for women to help them navigate the perimenopause phase because of the anxiety and anxiousness they experience during that phase. They're looking for something to calm their nervous system, and generally that drives them to substances like alcohol because it's got the depressive factor in it. So what's your thoughts around alcohol?
Well, I tell people that, when you're going through the pause, it is, if you were a car, your check engine light is on. It's like that anxiety is nothing but that check engine light that's turning on, and it's saying that something's wrong, something's off. We don't recognize that signal. Human body is perfect. Your body is a miracle making machine. It has carries all of us through time and our experience. So when the pause happens and that check engine light is on, which it creates this panic, inner panic and inner knowing, because the body is telling you something's off. At that point, to cover that signal with a toxic substance like alcohol, which is not only addictive, but also makes everything worse, you're just doubling your problem. It is not going to take you out of your problem, because you're going to wake up even more tired, even more foggy. Maybe you'll start gaining weight because you're just taking these additional calories. And these are empty calories. They don't do any good. Right now, the new, I don't know, maybe it was the alcohol's industry and the capitalist system that just imposed alcohol upon everybody as some fashion thing or some fad thing that's been going on for like a century. However, now that we have we need to find a different element to give us that hit. I don't think that alcohol is the right substance to numb your pain or your existential angst. It's also it is a numbing thing. It's like me anesthetizing myself. Instead of figuring out what's going on with me, I'm just like, I say, give me an anesthesia, give me something so that I'm not going to think about it for some time. And so it's super addictive, because today this week you may be taking one glass of wine every day. In 2 months, one glass won't do anything. You would want to, and I know I used to have friends who used to open a bottle every evening and then be done with it. And it's very destructive, and even more disruptive to so whatever you're doing, it accelerates all decline, and it will perpetuate your pause, and it will actually increase your suffering. Meanwhile, you'll think that for a few hours while you're in that haze of anesthetic impact of alcohol, you might feel a little giddy, but that's not the release from the menopause, symptoms that you're seeking. So I'm completely
And
against it.
yeah, yeah. I totally understand that, but it is a common thing that happens during perimenopause, is that women's alcohol increases significantly, and yeah, it is it's like, I guess, some self medication at the moment, but yeah, but in terms of what would you recommend to manage that anxiety? You mentioned meditation before. What's your go-to instead of alcohol? What's the substitute to really help them manage that anxiety during that time?
So a lot of things are available for women at this point. In United States, in several states, medical marijuana is available right now, which is like, for like if you're trying to sleep or if you're trying to manage your pain. I think that human body has endocannabinoid receptors way more than alcohol or Tylenol receptors. So, I mean, if you do need, like, to manage your aches and pains, I would first suggest go do like an oil change for yourself and see, like, once you cleanse your system and you resupplement all the nutrients, see if that check engine light is still on. If it is like a little oil change cannot fix it, then maybe we can go and look further into your other things that you can do. I mean, if your muscles are hurting, let me see, are you eating well? Are you taking your enough protein? Are you moving your body? Go and, because sometimes just movement is going to just change the way your body feels. A lot of women are so much, they just don't find other ways. It's like thinking out of the box. Meanwhile, this is not so much out of the box. It has helped our ancestors before, but our lives have increasingly become more and more sedentary. So that movement has to be now built into our lifestyles. And yes, there are other elements also, like safer elements. Like I think that medical cannabis is easier on your system than alcohol. Like if you have to pick something that you really need to go to, take that. If you're not able to sleep, then maybe try some progesterone and some magnesium. It will help you. If you're feeling really dry and dehydrated, see if you need estrogen. A lot of women have problems with their sexual function where they have decreased libido. It's painful. Their intercourse becomes really painful, and it's hard for them to have like that intimate relationship with their partners. And because basically menopause is created in our system, it's a pre-programmed pause where your body is supposed to exit the matrix at this point. Meanwhile, we're not ready for the exit. We want to stay here forever, but at least as long as we can. So now that creates like this panic, that this existential panic, that how am I going to live where I don't enjoy any of the things that I used to enjoy before? How many divorces result as a consequence of having menopausal symptoms? All of these things have like some of these supplements. So we give a little bit of estrogen and a little bit of testosterone to women, like just to bring their libido back, just to give their brain that, yes, things are okay. We have things in control, because that's what you need to feel. And that's what you need to provide to yourself. And the fact is that we are not training our doctors right at this point. Even to this day, the new students that are in med schools, they are still going by the old, last century whatever we learned. And now I think it is time to update our knowledge base. And we are also not training doctors in residency, like after med school, when they go and they train in hospitals. We only train them in the sickness management system, where then all of your doctors that are come out of the med schools, they get hired by insurance companies. Basically, they work for insurance companies. I think it is time where not only an insurance company is only interested in taking care of diseases and sicknesses, which is also a very big benefit for the first world countries, especially where the insurance companies exist, that when you're sick, somebody like it's covered. However, people need to take this onto themselves to take care of their health. And I'm sure at some point the paradigm is going to shift and people will spend resources on their health. And the government will also help you spend your resources on your health and wellness. But that day hasn't arrived yet.
So with
I'm very
the
hopeful
listeners,
that it's going to change.
if they're certainly experiencing this or know of someone experiencing this and want to know where they can connect with you and, visit your clinic or do a telehealth consultation, how can the listeners, viewers best connect with you?
Well, I have a website where they can find me. It's called botoxguru.org. And I tell people that I'm not your guru. I'm the guru of Botox, which I'll tell Botox what to do for you. And it is one of the fastest anti-aging medications in the world. And I hope that everybody gets to try it someday from somebody who's very good at it. Our physical office is located in New York. So if you're ever in New York, please come and find me. But otherwise, the reason of me coming on different podcasts is to inform people of my own podcast, which I relaunched this year. It's called Bathroom Diaries. And it's basically where we explore what's going on with your bathroom, because in your bathroom, that's where you face off with yourself without any filters, without any makeup, without any pretensions. And this is where you align, what you ate, you face with that. If you didn't hydrate, you were going to face with that. Wherever you are in time and your changing features and your alignment with yourself as you're going through time happens over there. And I want to be and I'm sure that when you go through that, you wonder like, what can you do? And that's where we discuss all your bathroom problems in there, whether it's perception of self problems or any aging problems, or anti-aging problems and solutions.
Fantastic.
And their
Well,
solutions.
I'll include those links that you mentioned in the show notes so the listeners and viewers can go directly to those links. I really appreciate you coming on the show, Dr. Din, and really enlightening us on the subject of the pause.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Advice, opinions, or statements within it do not constitute medical, healthcare, or professional advice and are provided for general information purposes only. All care is taken in the preparation of the information in this podcast. Connected Wellness Proprietary Limited operating under the brand Me and My Health Up, does not make any representations or give any warranties about its accuracy, reliability, completeness, or suitability for any particular purpose. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it are not to be used as a substitute for professional, medical, psychological, psychiatric, or any other mental health care or healthcare in general. Me and My Health Up recommends you seek the advice of a doctor or qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Inform your doctor of any changes that you may to your lifestyle and discuss these with your doctor. Do not disregard medical advice or delay visiting a medical professional because of something you hear in this podcast. This podcast has been carefully prepared on the basis of current information. Changes in circumstances after publication may affect the accuracy of this information. To the maximum extent permitted by the law, Me and My Health Up disclaims any such representations or warranties to the completeness, accuracy, merchantability, or fitness for purpose of this podcast and will not be liable for any expenses, losses, damages incurred, indirect or consequential damages or costs that may be incurred as a result of the information being inaccurate or incomplete in any way and for any reason. No part of this podcast can be reproduced, redistributed, published, copied, or duplicated in a form without prior permission of Me and My Health Up.